everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany, this is the Brittany Reacts Show, and on today's show we have quite a number of things to talk about, but to be honest, it was kind of a slow news week, but I think I found some interesting stories to talk about. So we have Barbie. There's going to be a new animated movie from Illumination. That's kind of interesting. We're going to talk about Romulus's box office and kind of determine, is it a hit, is it not? I don't think we really know yet, but we're going to talk about it. Also, there was a new trailer for the animated Lord of the Rings movie that's coming out later this year, and it looks way better than I expected. Like, so much better. Like, I'm actually kind of interested, but we'll get into it. Also, we're going to talk about the Acolyte getting canceled after the first season. Lots to discuss there. So we have some good stories to talk about. And one kind of, sort of WTF news, but kind of also not. It's still in my entertainment section, but it's WTF to me. But anyway, we have some good things to talk about. How are you guys doing? Hi, the Blue Gecko Nerd. Hi, Natanya. Hi, Kai. Hi, Ethereal Dragon. Hi, Jordan. Hi, Madonna. Hi, Zhao. Hi Josh, hi CD Woods, hi Alex. Thank you to each and every one of you who is here, even on such short notice, and thank you for just always being here, because I know you guys are regulars, so I appreciate you guys always showing up to my live streams. Really does truly mean a lot to me. Really, really, genuinely, I love this community that we've built up. Hi Professor Strangefinger. But anyway, let's just get straight into the news. So let's talk about the box office first. So last week, I did sort of forget to talk about the box office for It Ends With Us. I talked about the drama, but I forgot to mention, like, the movie's actually kind of successful despite all the drama. If you don't know what the drama is I'm talking about, watch last week's episode. But it's a drama, it's a rom-drama, a romantic drama that has just passed $200 million. Like, $200 million. For that kind of film in this day and age, that's really, really good. It's actually unfortunate that Blake Lively, it seemingly has hurt her career because of all the drama. This could have been something really, really good for her. To be honest, she needed something good for her. She needed, like, a hit, really. And this is a hit. This is a true, genuine hit. I mean, it's made over $200 million worldwide. And not 97 million of that is internationally, and she should be celebrating, but right now she's hiding. She's hiding because, well, again, watch all the drama that happened last week. But honestly, I haven't seen it really go away. People are still bringing up old receipts on, like, terrible things Blake Lively has done in the past. So she's just kind of the internet's new punching bag of the month, I guess. She's just gonna have to wait until someone else messes up and they take the baton. Before her, it was Katy Perry. Before Katy Perry, it was J-Lo. So yeah, you know, these things happen about every month or so. There'll be someone new everyone hates next month. But for now, she just gotta ride the wave and just hope this doesn't totally, like, ruin her career, even though I think her reputation is a little bit damaged. That was kind of I guess, a joke. Anyway, you guys know I like to read gossip lines. You guys know that I just out of interest, and I'm nosy in what's going on in people's lives, just being honest. There was a gossip line that talked about the fact that both Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively were trying to get Taylor to, like, help out with all this PR drama that's going on, like, probably with a pap walk, which is what Taylor usually does. And Taylor was like, nope. Can't, I suddenly do not have your phone number. Like, she doesn't even want to help them. So if that's true, again, I don't know, that's just a rumor, but if that's true, that's really bad for them. Really, really bad. So, very interesting development. This should have been huge for her. Should have been, but it's not. So yeah. Also, I can't believe this movie's doing so well. I legit never heard of this movie or the book it's based off of, like, 2 weeks ago. So that just shows you that how fractured we are with entertainment. Like, a movie like this can blow up and it's like, it wasn't even on my radar. So, and for me, who, like, looks at all movie releases and I talk about them here on my channel, the fact that even I had never heard of this movie is just really blowing my mind. Like, how did this just completely, like fly over my radar? Like, I had no idea this movie was coming out until I heard all the drama. But anyway, good for her, but also kind of unfortunate at the same time. Did anyone actually see this movie? Do you guys think it's good? Should I go see it? Okay, Miss Blair says, I'm disappointed in Blake Lively. I thought she would stay away from drama. I mean, there was rumors way back when she was in Gossip Girl that she was a mean girl, essentially, like Leighton Meester, who played opposite her. I think she talked about, or at least heavily hinted at, the fact that she was kind of like her character in more ways than one. So yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely surprised that she's being outed as a mean girl now, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Natanya, I see what you did there. Josh says Blake Lively shouldn't have told people to bring their floral dresses to a movie about yeah. Yeah, I think she definitely made a lot of mistakes. I don't think it's all just the internet hating on her because she's a woman. I think she definitely made some mistakes herself. But I do think people are going overboard with it, like bringing up stuff that happened like 15 years ago. Like, come on, give it a break. Oh, thank you, Madonna. It's not a rom-com. It's more of a romantic drama. Kai says, yes, if you just not making the connection, Blake Lively is the same person that was in Gossip Girl. If you didn't know, now you know. But anyway, let's just move on. So, Borderlands. Oh my god, Borderlands is doing so terribly. Like, embarrassingly bad. It was already a really low opening to begin with, and remember, this is the movie that has a D cinema score, which is very, very rare for a blockbuster action film, so you know it's bad. But apparently, audiences are just, like, regretting this movie even existing because it dropped 72% in its second weekend, which is a pretty substantial drop, again, especially when it didn't even open that high to begin with, so this is just a massive flop. I was so wrong about how well this movie would do. Next week, I'm actually going to do the end of summer live stream that I promised you guys at the beginning of the summer, where I'm going to compare my list of what I anticipated the summer box office to be like versus what it actually is, and we're going to talk about what was the hits of the summer, what were the flops of the summer. So make sure you're here next Sunday as we're going to talk about that for the live stream. Or no, this Sunday, this Sunday, because that's what we're going to talk about. But anyway, yeah, this is definitely in the flop category where I thought this would be in the surprise hit category, and I was very wrong. And how wrong was I? Well, it only crossed 21 million globally. 21 million, oh my god! And it has a budget of 115 million. That's embarrassing. These aren't just like bad numbers, these are embarrassing numbers. Truly, truly embarrassing. Everything I've heard about this movie just sounds awful. Like, really bad. It's, honestly, it's sounding so bad that it's making me want to see it. I kind of have this morbid fascination with movies that everyone, like, just thinks is god-awful. Like, especially to get a D cinema score. That almost makes me want to see it. Like, the only reason I saw Mother, the movie with Jennifer Lawrence that came out a while ago, was because that got an F cinema score, and I was like, well, now I gotta see it. So now that this has a D cinema score and it's doing this badly, I'm like, I think when it comes to digital, I might have to check this out, because this might be a special kind of trash. Although I really liked Mother. I mean, I kind of get why it has an F cinema score, kind of. But I really liked that movie, but anyway, that's a whole other aside. But yeah, you guys can see how badly this is doing. Anyone see this movie? Anyone actually like it? Oh, hi, Mr. Yes Queen. I like your name. Josh says, Borderlands is the biggest video game movie failure ever. Lionsgate's gonna be broke. After this, The Crow and Megalopolis all flop so hard. We're gonna talk about Megalopolis later on in the stream because, yeah, we have to discuss what happened there. Ethereal Dragon says, sounds like they need to erase it and try to turn it a tax write-off. No, I don't think they should have, they shouldn't have done that, what Warner Brothers did to, like, the Acme movie. Like, I don't support that. I'm glad that it at least got released and seen, but, like, yeah, the next slide shows you that they're already rushing it to digital on August 30th, which is less than a month after the release. So yeah, the studio knows that it's lost. There's no saving it. No one's coming to theaters to go see it. So I might have a chance to actually see this movie and review it soon. Would you guys even want me to review it, even though it's been quite a while after it came out now? Would you still be interested or not? Please let me know, because if you guys don't care, I won't watch it. But if you guys actually maybe want me to watch it and like do a roast or something, please let me know. Professor Strangefinger says, I might see it on streaming so I can shut it off fast if need be. Yeah, that's why I'm not seeing it in theaters. I'm definitely waiting until it's at least on digital. Oh, Blue Gecko Nerd, you're gonna pirate it? Alright, I'm sure some people will. Okay, Joss, you would like a roast? Okay. Maybe I'll do it. We'll see. Hi, Alexander. So, again, just to add salt to injury, Coraline, the movie that came out in like 2007, 2008, as you guys know, one of my all-time favorite movies ever. I'm pretty sure it's number 3 after Titanic and Pride and Prejudice. Number 3 is Coraline, which I know those 3 movies have like, or at least the first 2 movies have nothing in common with Coraline. Very, very different films. But I've always loved this movie. This movie has a very special place in my heart. But the fact is, the re-release, y'all, the re-release earned more money in its opening weekend than Borderlands did in its entire theatrical run. That's how badly that movie is doing, but also, that's how still well-beloved Coraline is. Which makes me really happy, because again, with it being one of my all-time favorites, I'm glad that other people love this movie too, and that even all these years later, it's still able to have success. I'm really, really happy about it. We're going to talk about another Leica film that's coming out soon. They just dropped a teaser for their next movie, and the teaser literally opens up with the pink house from Coraline. So I think even Leica knows Coraline is still their bread and butter all these years later. But yeah, this is a big oof for Borderlands, but also kind of a win for Coraline. But anyway, moving on. So Coraline has crossed 80 million at the domestic box office following its re-release. That's crazy. That just shows you how much these Leica movies actually do not do very well. Because Coraline is still, to date, their most successful movie, and it only just crossed 80 million at the domestic box office. So, I mean, I think it's had another life, obviously, on digital and on streaming, and I think that's why it's still been able to keep its fan base all these years. So they probably made a lot more money from Coraline just on like digital sales and merchandise. So I would still consider this to be a hit, even though the box office is actually surprisingly very low for like how much of like, I'll say it, I think this movie is iconic. But anyway, do you guys like Coraline as much as me? Does anyone else care about this film? Do you understand why it's my 3rd favorite film ever? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of love for Coraline. That's great. Oh, hi, Nicholas Wilson. Oh, I'm sorry. I had extra time. I thought I needed extra time, after work, but I didn't. So I started at 6:15. I'm sorry about that if you missed the beginning. We haven't actually gone over a whole lot, so you haven't missed much, but I'm sorry about that. Professor Strangefinger says, it sucks because you know that cast and crew did work on Borderlands. They didn't necessarily know it was unwanted. Yeah, I think there was just a lot of decisions with Borderlands business-wise that just was doomed to fail. I mistakenly thought that video game fans would go crazy for it, but they very much did not. So yeah, I was very wrong about that movie. Okay, I'm loving that you guys love Coraline too. That's great. That's great. Anyway, another Leica film that is criminally underrated is Kubo and the Two Strings. Really great movie. Moving on. Speaking of animated films, Inside Out 2 is only 40 million away from outgrossing The Lion King. So I hope it does this just so we don't have to go through the whole debate of is Inside Out 2 technically the highest grossing animated movie because we also have The Lion King, which I consider to be an animated movie because it is. It's just a different kind of animation. So I really hope it outgrosses that movie, just to put that debate to rest, but also because it's a much better movie in like every single way possible. You guys know I am The Lion King's biggest hater. Not the original, but the live action movie. Live action. I hate that movie so much. I'm so mad about Mufasa. I will review it and talk about it though, so make sure you subscribe for that, but I just want this movie to beat The Lion King so bad. It's just... Inside Out 2 is a great, fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it. However, cannot recommend The Lion King at all. So, I'm rooting for this to take over The Lion King. But anyway, I know, Jane says you weren't expecting this. I don't think even Disney expected this movie to do as well as it has. Like, this is, I mean, I'm sure they were hoping that it would be a hit, but to beat The Lion King and be the 10th highest grossing movie of all time, because it is, I think I said this before, but just to reiterate, Inside Out 2 is now the 10th highest grossing movie of all time, worldwide. Like, it's up there with, like, the Endgames and all the Marvel movies and all of that stuff. Like, it's the 10th highest grossing movie of all time. That's crazy to me. Crazy, crazy, but very, very, I think, deserved. But anyway. We're definitely getting an Inside Out 3 misplayer, for sure. Moving on. So Alien Romulus earned $41.5 million in its domestic box office opening weekend, which is the second highest of the franchise. Now, I wish it did more, but this did outperform the expectations we talked about last weekend, how the movie wasn't tracking to do that well. So I think the word of mouth definitely helped it like outperform the expectations, so I'm really happy about that. But I do hope that it does even better, because I think this movie really deserves it. I think this movie is so good. If you guys want more thoughts on my movie, not my movie, but if you want more of my thoughts on the movie, please go watch my review that I posted on Sunday. It's my third favorite movie of the year after Inside Out 2 and Dune. I really like this movie, surprisingly a lot. I haven't been this surprised by a movie since I saw Godzilla -1, because I went into both of these movies, Godzilla and Alien, thinking, oh, I'm probably just gonna watch like a pretty generic monster movie that might be okay, but like I'm probably not gonna think much about. But honestly, especially with Godzilla, I really want to watch it again, because every now and then I think about the ending of that movie and I'm just like, oh, the tears. I sobbed like crazy in that movie. I didn't cry in Alien, but I still just loved the story, and I loved how much it wasn't just about the aliens. So that's why I really like this movie, and it kind of reminded me of Godzilla -1. So I hope that the word of mouth keeps going. I'm telling all of you guys to go see it. Trust me, even if you don't care about the Alien franchise. I didn't care about the Alien franchise, like, at all. This movie made me an Aliens fan. Now I want to go and watch all the other movies and stuff, so. And as we're going to talk about later on, there's even another TV show that's going to come out. So now I'm interested in the TV show, because I'm like, well, the movie was really good, so if it's like the movie, hope I like it. But anyway, really happy for it, but I hope that it does more and continues to outperform. Madonna, thank you so much for the super chat. Best part of the movie was the sound design. Oh, the sound design was really great, but my favorite part of the movie is actually the mise-en-scène. As I told you guys, I really love how it kind of felt like a James Cameron movie, like in the way that they directed it, and that if they made you feel like you were part of the action, that you were there in that space station with them, or in the spaceship with them. It felt very cramped. It felt very claustrophobic. I just loved the ambiance and the set design and how much of it was practical. I just thought it was a very nice looking movie, which I appreciate, because I don't personally feel like a lot of the big blockbusters coming out are all that good looking. So I appreciate when I watch a film and I'm like, the framing is nice, the color palette is nice, the color grading isn't all washed out and gray. How nice. Yeah, the cinematography. I honestly think the cinematography is so good. I think that it deserves an Oscar nom. I really think it's that strong. I don't think this is the kind of film that's going to get Oscar attention, so I'm not holding my breath. Maybe it will for special effects. I can see it getting a special effect nom. But I can't see anything else, unfortunately. Although, Godzilla Minus One won the special effects nomination, so again, that would be another comparison between the two. Yeah, the production design was really, really great. Mr. Yas Queen says, Brittany, I actually am curious to watch the Snow White movie, even though the CGI looks weird. I'm very curious about the Snow White movie as well. I'm very curious to see what the reaction is going to be to it. But anyway, moving on. So, Alien Romulus has earned over 108 million worldwide, which, again, could be better, but I think that's actually pretty decent, especially when it only has an $80 million budget. So as long as it has legs and keeps going week to week, this actually, I think, should be considered a hit. Hopefully we'll get a sequel. Obviously, if you've seen the movie, the ending of the movie definitely sets up to, like, there being a sequel. So I hope that there is, because I want more time with these characters, especially Andy. I loved Andy. It has a B+ cinema score, which for a horror movie is, like, really, really good. So I think people are really into this movie. Also, Deadpool and Wolverine just crossed 1.1 billion. I do think it's starting to slow down just a little bit. I don't see it getting, like, much further past 1.2, maybe just reaching 1.3. But I don't really see a whole lot left in the tank for this movie. I saw this coming. Again, we're on this Sunday, we're going to compare my list at the beginning of the summer compared to what actually happened this summer. But I did think Inside Out 2 would make more than Deadpool and Wolverine. I bravely made that call, and thankfully I was right. But I did not expect Inside Out 2 to make, like, almost $400 million more than Deadpool and Wolverine. That's how successful Inside Out 2 is. Even though Deadpool and Wolverine's a huge hit, Inside Out 2 is still far and away the biggest hit of the year. Crazy stuff, crazy stuff. But really, really happy for Pixar. Super happy for Pixar. Obviously, this is another movie that I was wrong about too, because I didn't think this was going to reach $1 billion. I thought the hate for Marvel was too much. Personally, I didn't think that the trailers looked that amazing, but I think this really hit home with hardcore fans in a way that a lot of movies right now aren't pleasing hardcore fans, so I think it just really scratched that itch for some people. Even though I didn't love the movie. I liked it, but I didn't love it. I'm really happy that it's still doing well because Marvel really needed this hit. So hopefully with this cachet, they can turn their next few movies into hits. But who knows? We'll see. I don't know if Captain America Thunderbolts is going to reach $1 billion, but I was wrong about this, so maybe I'll be wrong about those. But anyway, moving on. Deadpool and Wolverine has actually just passed Joker globally to become the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. So yeah, very, very successful. We'll see if maybe Joker 2 can beat that, but I don't know. I'm really looking forward to Joker. I'm more excited about Joker 2 than I was for Joker 1. Because I love musicals. So I love the fact that it's got songs in it, which I know not everyone likes musicals. I don't understand it, but I love musicals, so that makes me more excited for the movie. And Lady Gaga's in it. I've been a Lady Gaga fan since the Fame Monster, so I guess I consider myself a little monster. In fact, I had tickets to go see her in high school once, but she had to cancel her tour because she like broke her hip or something. And I was so devastated because I really wanted to go see her. But yeah, I'm really excited for Joker 2, but I have no idea if it's going to be as successful as the first one. Just being honest, I have no idea. I think they made a lot of decisions that appeal really to me. Like, I feel like all the decisions they've made in Joker 2 was to make me like Joker more. Because they feel very, like, for me. But I just don't know if they're, like, for everyone. Who knows? Oh, Riro, you're waiting for streaming? Oh, okay. Joker's coming out in November, I believe. Oh, no, October 4th. Thank you, Josh. Du Bois says, I still think a big reason why Deadpool was so successful is because Deadpool isn't necessarily connected to the MCU. Oh yeah, that definitely helps. That definitely helps. I think they should continue keeping Deadpool separate from the MCU. If they try to integrate him too much, if he shows up in, like, Thunderbolts or something, I think it's really gonna dilute the character. But moving on. I haven't talked about Longlegs at all. You guys know I don't really do horror, so I didn't care about this movie, but I have to bring it up because it's a very big hit, and now I'm thinking maybe I should check it out. But it's a horror movie that only has a budget of 10 million, but it just crossed 100 million globally, so it's doing very well. Very, very well. People seem to really like this movie. It's definitely stirred a lot of conversation on social media. So maybe I should watch it. I don't know. But I don't really like horror movies, so I probably won't watch it. But did anyone see Longlegs? Is anyone surprised by how successful this movie is? Miss Player says, and it can't compare to the legendary and difficult to compete classic that is The Shining movie. Oh, this movie? I love The Shining, actually. That's, like, one horror movie I do like. I should probably say the reason I don't care for horror movies is not because, like, I'm scared of them. Actually, quite the opposite. I find most horror movies to be really dumb and frustrating to the point where they annoy me. Because, you know, it's a cliche that in horror movies, the characters have to act intentionally dumb so that they get trapped somewhere or they, you know, they do something that gets them, you know, haunted or whatever. But that stuff really gets under my skin. I remember, I think one of the, because I don't watch many horror movies, I think one of the last horror movies I watched was the spin-off film from, I think it was The Nun or something. It was the one that had, what's her face? From American Horror Story in it. If you guys know which movie I'm talking about, please let me know. From season 1 of American Horror Story. When I watched that movie, it was so beyond frustrating. Because I was like, the characters were just being plain idiots. Like, plain idiots. Like, oh, I'm seeing some really spooky stuff in the woods. Let me go there at night by myself and see what's going on. You know, stuff like that. Really, really annoyed me. It annoyed me so much. I stopped watching horror movies for a while after that. So maybe I should, like, just find some good horror movies. I don't know. But it's very rare that I watch a horror movie that I'm like, oh, that was good. So that's why I don't watch them. I know some of you are probably like, oh, that's blasphemy, because there are a lot of really big horror fans. I've just never been one of them. Du Bois says, you know I find the same thing with most horror films. I'm usually just yelling, why would you do that, you imbecile? Yes, you get me, Du Bois, you get me. That's literally how I am watching most horror movies. But anyway, Tessa Farmiga. Yes, thank you. That's her name. What was the movie that she was in? I think it was The Nun. But anyway, moving on. So moving on from the box office, actually. Let's get to entertainment news. So speaking of Alien, like I just said, there's actually going to be another series coming that's going to be on Hulu. It's called Alien Earth, and it takes place 30 years before the first film. So that I don't really know much else beyond this about this movie, or this show, I should say. But, as I just said, because I loved Alien Romulus so much, I am now interested in this show where otherwise I would not have cared. So now I'm like, maybe I might actually give this a shot. I don't know, we'll see. Anyone interested in an Alien show? Do you think that maybe Disney/Fox can actually revive this brand? First of all, very, very weird to see the Fox logo in front of Alien Romulus. It threw me off because I was like, I thought you were dead. But anyway, I just think it's weird that Disney's still using that logo, but whatever. Anyone actually interested in seeing this Alien TV show? Okay, Josh is excited. Alright. Madonna says, oh no, you're not looking into it? Why do you think it's not good? You think they're trying to spread their franchise out too far? I mean, every single franchise gets the MCU treatment now. If one thing is considered popular and successful, now they have to make not just a bunch of sequels, but a bunch of spin-offs too. So at this point, this is just expect this with all franchises. You're not just gonna get one; you're gonna get like one of everything, basically. We're gonna talk about Barbie later on too, and how they're trying to MCUify Barbie a bit. Okay, Jessica's looking forward to this, so a few of you are looking forward to this. Let's see if it's good. Hopefully it's good. But speaking of surprises, if you guys remember, there's an animated Lord of the Rings movie coming out later this year in December. And I've told you guys this before, but I've never been a big Lord of the Rings fan. I very much prefer low fantasy over high fantasy. And Lord of the Rings has always just been too high fantasy for me to connect with. Even though I watched The Rings of Power, I mainly just watched The Rings of Power because there was so much drama around it and I was just very curious. But man, was that show boring AF. So boring. And I really just, like, to me cemented that maybe Lord of the Rings was not for me. But all that to say, I watched this trailer and it looks very good. Like, I'm shocked how good it looks. And the reason why I think it looks good is A, I like the animation style. Hold on. It's an anime. It's like an anime style animation, which is interesting. It doesn't look like a Western animated movie at all. It looks like a Japanese studio made this movie, which is really, really cool. Love the animation. It's super detailed too. Like every frame, just so much detail. You know, I was actually watching an anime movie recently called When Marnie Was There. I don't know if you guys have heard of that movie, but I just watched it recently. And it's not Ghibli, but it's kind of Ghibli adjacent. And it definitely has that Studio Ghibli style. And that movie, I was just in awe of how gorgeous it was. Like every frame, there was just so much detail in the background. Like every frame was a work of art. And as I was watching the movie, I was like, I actually kind of wish Western animation was more like that. I feel like, in comparison, Western animation is more simplistic and straightforward, where in Japanese animation, they put a ton of detail and stuff. And I really appreciate the detail. But yes. Oh, Alexander, you've seen When Marnie Is There. Yes, really good movie. But anyway, because I'm not into Lord of the Rings that much, I have no idea, like, when this takes place in the story or anything, but what I liked about the trailer was that it felt fresh to me. Like, it felt like it's me, as someone who has never really been into Lord of the Rings. This looks like maybe something that I could get into as a newbie. Like, maybe I don't have to know a ton of lore, just I can show up for a really good story. And this looks so strong to me, just in the animation, but also it really looks like an epic, grand story, like on a big scale. Like really, the stakes look large, the scale looks large, the animation is gorgeous. It really looks like the kind of movie that it's probably going to sneak up and surprise you with how good it is. So I went from not caring about this movie in the slightest and actually thinking it was dumb to make an animated version, to now thinking this might be the version of Lord of the Rings that I probably prefer. This looks like something that I can get into. But again, I don't know if that is going to speak to everyone else. I don't know if people are going to watch this and go, why in the world did they make Lord of the Rings an anime? Because, I mean, I can see a lot of people thinking that. But to me, I'm just like, what? This looks gorgeous. This looks like, I don't know. Like, this looks like this could be like a really cool, epic, grand, fantasy story that just happens to be animated. And I'm really here for it. If you haven't watched this trailer, I highly recommend you go and check it out for yourselves. The tone is really, really tense and cool. I'm actually interested in this movie now, where before I did not care at all. Is anyone actually interested in this movie, or do you think it's weird that they're trying to turn Lord of the Rings into an anime? Rhea Lynn says, I barely know Lord of the Rings stuff, but this looks amazing. Yes, I can see this maybe being a movie that appeals to, like, non-Lord of the Rings fans. Because I know Lord of the Rings fans, most of them are, like, purists that, you know, you have to stick to the text and all that. I don't know if this movie is going to be like that, so I have a feeling maybe this movie is probably going to appeal more to casuals or non-fans, which hopefully there's enough of those kind of people interested in this movie that might want to see it. Who knows? Astronomy thinks it looks awesome. Du Bois says, out of interest, when you said you prefer low fantasy, what separates the two? What would you say is low fantasy? Okay, so I guess a little lesson. Low fantasy is when you have fantasy elements, but like the real world still exists, basically. Think, for example, Harry Potter. Like, yes, you have the magical fantasy world of the wizarding worlds and all of that, but you still have the Muggle world. Earth still exists. You can still, you know, see humans doing normal, regular Earth stuff. It's just, there happens to be a whole other magical world that you could also step into where magic exists. With Lord of the Rings, it's just the fantasy world. There's no basis of reality to it. There's no Earth. There's no nothing. It's all fantasy. That's what I mean, like low fantasy versus high fantasy. I really like low fantasy, which is why I like stuff like Harry Potter and Star Trek. I don't know if I've talked to you guys about this, but I actually really like Star Trek. Like I've seen like a good bit of the original series, and I've seen like a lot of the movies. So I'm a big fan of Star Trek, but as you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of Star Wars. And I think it's the same thing there, where like Star Trek is low fantasy because Earth still exists. It's just, you know, it takes place in the future, whereas Star Wars takes place in a galaxy far, far away. So it's all fantasy. That's just a personal preference. I prefer low fantasy over high fantasy, and to me, that's the difference. Hope that answers your question. Professor Strangefinger says, I wish they demonstrate some new ideas. It's because fresh ideas are not wanted by the public? I think not. Barbie seemed very fresh in many aspects. I do think the audience wants fresh ideas. I really do. I just don't think Hollywood knows what those are or how to market them. I think Hollywood's in a very weird place right now where they're kind of stuck in a lot of ways. Like, I think there's too many executives that are just totally out of touch with the general going people, because all they talk to are other executives and producers and Hollywood people, and they rarely step out of their Hollywood bubble. So I think there's just a lot of people in power whose job it is to greenlight movies who do not mingle with the regular folk. And therefore, but at the same time, it's their job to greenlight stuff they think regular folk will like. And I think a lot of them, to be honest, are just completely clueless. They have no idea what people want or like anymore, and that's why they're just kind of falling back on like stuff that we've seen before, safe franchises, safe IP. Also because a lot of the original stuff that does come out does tend to flop, but I use the word original loosely, meaning, yeah, maybe it's not based off in an IP, but a lot of the original stuff that's coming to theaters is also not very fresh or very new. It's usually still very much based on a tired formula or just something that we've seen before. I agree with you. I think one of the reasons Barbie stood out was because it's so fresh and visually it was very interesting. I wish Hollywood would do more stuff like that, but I think there's like a very much a culture of fear right now that's preventing them from doing that. Rhea Lynn says, I blame the obsession over streaming for the lack of money in Hollywood currently. Oh yeah, streaming is definitely bleeding Hollywood dry, that's for sure. Very much for sure. Charity Moon says that's because there's a lot of old people. Yeah, I mean, not to be ageist. I'm not trying to be ageist, but I do think it would benefit more studios to get younger talent involved who maybe might have more a finger on the pulse on what young people like. Because I do think there are people who've been in their positions for like decades making and like greenlighting movies who have no idea, not even the first clue of like what young people like. I think that's a big problem as well. But anyway, moving on. So, speaking of the Rings of Power, apparently the showrunner is comparing season 2 to Oppenheimer. They said we've sort of been likening it to Oppenheimer. You're dealing with this world-changing power, and nobody knows exactly where it's going to be for good or ill. Very, very interesting choice to go with Oppenheimer. As you guys know, I did not love that movie. I know a lot of people do. I know it won the Oscar for Best Film. I know technically it's a well-made movie. I understand why people like it. But I saw it as I told you guys, if you guys remember on the stream. I went to go see it a second time in 70mm in Lincoln Square because I was like, oh, maybe if I see it on the really big IMAX screen, I'll like it more and I'll understand the hype behind it. That did not happen. Unfortunately, I still didn't like it the second time. And honestly, one of the reasons I don't like it is because I do actually find the movie to be very boring. Sorry. It just did not capture my interest for a good bit of the film. And I didn't like the lead. I thought Oppenheimer was a jerk, which made me not, I couldn't, connect with him. So a whole long movie with a character I didn't like, and I thought it was boring at times. I just don't care for this movie. So the fact that they're comparing it to Oppenheimer, I think is very curious, because I think the main complaint for season 1 was that show was boring AF. So are they just saying season 2 is also going to be boring? To me, this does not inspire confidence. I know a lot of people like Oppenheimer, so maybe for some of you, you're like, oh, maybe season 2 will be good, but all I hear is, oh, so it's still going to be boring. Okay. The boy says, yeah, I ain't interested. I've not even seen season 1, and I just ain't interested. I don't think a lot of people are going to return for season 2. If you guys remember, season 1 had a dramatic fall off with viewership from episode 1 to the final episode. So it's not going to get the same viewership the first season had. And I think it's probably going to get canceled after the second season. What a waste of money. Remember how they were marketing this film as the first $1 billion show? And it was a huge flop? Didn't even get any major nominations or anything? I mean, just embarrassing for everyone involved, in my opinion. Very, very embarrassing. Miss Player says they must be delusional. Yeah. But anyway, moving on. So, like I said, Leica has a new show coming out, or not a show, a new movie called Wildwood. And I'm really, really excited for this because it has, it just looks really good. As I told you, the movie, the trailer starts off with the pink house from Coraline. So they're trying to remind you, hey, remember we used to make movies that you guys like and actually saw. They even have Paranorman as a little sneak in the beginning, hey, we made these movies, remember us? And Kubo, I forgot Kubo. Oh, I'm glad they talked about Kubo. Kubo is so underrated. But anyway, so then we pan down and we're in this dark and scary looking forest. The Wildwood, as they call it. We see these people that kind of look like cavemen or something. I don't know. Very, very intriguing. Then we have this owl that's super spooky. I think he also spoke too, so I guess the owls speak. And then we have these two characters here at the very beginning, or at the very end, we get the title credits at the very end. So yeah, it's a very, very brief teaser. We don't really get to see a whole lot, really. They just kind of showed you the vibe, the setting a bit. But honestly, I already think this looks a lot better than Leica's last movie. If you guys remember what Leica's last movie was, it was, hold on, I forgot the name of it. I need to look this up. But it had that giant, ugly looking creature. Leica movies. Oh yeah, Missing Link. Do you guys remember Missing Link? Seriously, I'm about to show you a picture. Because I hated just the way this dude looks. Hold on. Yeah, this dude. You remember him? or maybe you don't, 'cause no one saw this movie, but, like, I remember watching the trailers and thinking, and this is someone who's, like, probably one of Leica's biggest, like, #1 fans, by the way. When I watched the trailer for this movie, I thought this looked like the dumbest movie ever, and they could not have made an uglier character if they tried. Like, this has to be the worst character design I have ever seen for a major blockbuster, or at least a major motion picture. Like, who wants to watch 2 hours of that guy? I don't know. Cheetah Viper thinks he's cute. I'm glad some of you think he's cute. I don't know. Well, I just remember watching that trailer and going, I do not want to watch a whole movie with that dude. But anyway, it seems like you guys didn't even know that movie existed. That's how badly Leica's been doing lately. The fact that you guys didn't even know that that movie existed. It only came out like a few years ago. So yeah, very, very bad for them. I'm hoping that Wildwood turns things around for them. Because I like, they're really the only studio consistently making stop motion animated movies. And I think stop motion is beautiful. If Leica ever stopped existing, that would be a really big hit to, like, just stop motion as an art form. So I want them to keep going. I want them to keep making movies. This seems like a return to form for them. I think that's why they highlighted those particular movies at the beginning. So I'm really, really hoping that this movie is good. I'm looking forward to it. Yes. Any thoughts on Wildwood? Are you guys interested in this movie at all? Astronomy agrees. He's very hideous. Thank you. Ethereal Dragon says, burn it. Okay. Oh yeah, Sebastian, thank you. Please, if you guys would like, please like the stream. It does help let the algorithm know that you guys really like these videos, and it helps share this video with more people. So please just like the video. It really does help. Josh says, Wes Anderson and Tim Burton need to make more stop motion movies. Oh, I would love that. Imagine if Tim Burton made another stop motion movie. Well, he didn't really direct Nightmare Before Christmas, but he did produce it. Imagine if he produced another one. Or we got the same guy who did direct that to direct again. I would be over the moon for that. Really, really happy with that. Prototype says, very interested, love stories of children going into spooky woods. I do too! That's such like a very niche story example, but I tend to like those kind of movies as well. But anyway, moving on. So, speaking of animated movies, it's looking like Barbie is going to be getting another movie, but it's not going to be a sequel to the big hit Barbie movie that came out last year with Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig. It's going to be an animated film with Illumination. This is a huge win for Illumination, by the way. I really feel like Disney Animation is kind of losing to Illumination right now. Like, Disney Animation is really not consistently getting the same kind of hits that Illumination is, and that's really sad as just a Disney fan. But I just have to say it, like, I really think Illumination is kind of stronger as a studio than Disney Animation at the moment. Maybe not Pixar, because I do think that Inside Out 2 just saved them. But definitely I think Illumination's stronger than Disney Animation at the moment. I think that they could maybe make a good movie. Because as you guys know, I like the Super Mario Bros. Movie. And this is apparently what their goal is. They want some sort of family-oriented movie that's more like the Super Mario Bros., which I think is really, really smart. One thing that I was surprised, like super surprised about, even though I liked the movie, with the Margot Robbie version, was that it was so very much geared towards adults. I was shocked how, like, much it was geared towards adults, considering that it's a kid's brand, it's a toy. So I'm not surprised that maybe Mattel would want to make a more like kid-friendly movie. So that just makes a lot of sense. I'm hoping this is like Toy Story, but with just Barbie dolls. That would be really cool. But I think it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, as we've been talking about, Greta and Margot have like no interest in making a sequel. I don't think either of them think that they can make a sequel that would be a bigger hit than the first one, which is why I don't think they're interested. But Mattel obviously doesn't want to let the Barbie train just die, so I guess this is Mattel's way of keeping the Barbie hype going. which I think is actually kind of smart. So I'm curious about this. I think this could be interesting. I love the Lego movie. The first Lego movie. I didn't care for the second Lego movie, but the first one, I really think the first Lego movie is probably in like my top 10 favorite animated films of all time. Like, really love that movie. Super hilarious to me. So if it's anything like the Lego movie, I'd be happy. Are you guys looking forward to this, or do you think this is a really dumb idea? Be honest. Prototype really wants a Ken spin-off film. Oh, you don't trust Illumination. You don't like their brand of humor. Yeah, I mean, I think Illumination, what sets them apart from like Disney animation for me, is that they make their movies definitely more aimed directly at kids, and so the humor can be juvenile at times, especially with the Minions movies. Whereas like Disney animation, I think they try to make movies that appeal to all ages and kids. So yeah, if you're not into that, I can see why you wouldn't be into Illumination movies. Oh, Pedro, you're not very optimistic. Interesting. Ethereal Dragon wants Lego Batman too. I really liked Lego Batman. I'm surprised that wasn't a hit. The boy says that's kind of sad that Disney's getting overtaken in animation when you consider they kind of laid the groundwork for animation. Yeah, the reason why they're getting overtaken in animation is because they stopped innovating. Walt's whole thing with animation wasn't just to make an animated movie. It was about pushing the medium of animation and drawing, and you know, the whole art form was about, he was always trying to innovate on it. He was always trying to do something different, trying to improve the process, trying to find new ways to animate things. Disney used to be really all about that too, and then they kind of stopped in the past, like, 20 years? I think they've been in a rut, honestly. Even though they've had some hits, obviously, in the past 20 years. They are not innovating in the same way that they used to. They're not trying new things. They're not pushing the envelope of the medium forward, like, say, the Spider-Verse movies are. The fact that Sony beat Disney to like a new art style, it should be really embarrassing for Disney, because they're the ones that are supposed to be setting the trends for new art styles, and they just have not been doing that. They're definitely following and copying now, which I think is just really sad. It's really sad. They really need to take a risk and do something bold with their next movie. And I mean, when I say bold, I mean they need to do something drastically different with their art style. I really think it needs to be refreshed. I think maybe the whole Pixar style that they still use, I think when the Pixar style first got started, it was new and innovative because no one was using 3D animation. I guess they thought that style would just be popular forever, but I really think it's just getting old. I really think people are looking for like new, different kinds of style of movies. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's probably why for the Lord of the Rings animated movie, they decided to go with an anime style and not the traditional Western style, and I think that was a smart idea. I really do think that Western animation needs to start like innovating and changing up the style a bit. I think the Pixar style has gotten stale. Du Bois says Disney's getting beaten by the company that made the friggin' PlayStation. Hey, PlayStation is fun! I have my PS5 in the back if you can see it. PlayStation, it's a good time. Yeah, misplayer, they're just following trends. Really, really sad to see, unfortunately. But moving on, speaking of Spider-Verse, so Tiana the series will not be completely hand-drawn in 2D animation like we thought it would. Unfortunately, it's going to be a hybrid style. Think Spider-Verse, but not as extreme. Here's why this just completely took all my excitement away from this series. I really thought it was going to be 2D animated just because the still that they gave us looks 2D animated. But this hybrid style just means that they're compromising on both the 3D style and the 2D style, so we're going to end up getting something that looks like Wish, which was like a fake 2D animation. And that's what I'm really worried it's going to look like now. It's going to look like Wish. And I did not like the animation style in Wish at all. So this is really disappointing. I'm still hoping it looks good. I'm still got my fingers crossed. I'm still going to watch it and review it. But, like, I was really hoping this was, like, their first, like, full return to 2D animation. But no. It's still the hybrid style that they used in Wish. I'm really disappointed by that. Super disappointed. And even in this picture, as I told you, you guys know, as I just said, the main difference between like Western animation and Eastern animation right now is that I personally find Western animation to be like, there's just not a lot of detail in it. I mean, look at this image right here compared to the stills that we saw from the Lord of the Rings trailer. It's just, there's not as much detail there. It's very flat to me. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. It's very flat. And again, I think Disney really needs to be innovating more and trying more with their animation, because I don't think they're gonna get away with just doing like the bare minimum now. Really, really disappointed by this. I was hoping this was returned to 2D, but unfortunately, as I showed you guys before, a while ago now, but I did find an article when the Mary Poppins movie came out, the second one with Emily Blunt. If you've seen that movie, there is a section of that movie that is 2D animated. But I read an interview that said that they had to actually hire a bunch of old Disney animators out of retirement just to do that one section of the movie, because they didn't have any animators currently that knew how to make that kind of 2D animation. So, I think the only way I'm going to believe Disney's actually going to take 2D animation seriously again is if I hear in the news that they've like rehired or hired a bunch of new people, because I don't even think that a lot of the animators they have now would even know how to do 2D animation, which is really, really sad. So yeah, that's just the way things are now. I'm still going to watch it, but I am a bit bummed by this. Okay, Madonna agrees, it looks very flat. Yes, the Wild Robot animation looks really, really good. Yes, I totally agree. The Wild Robot looks amazing. And I don't know why Disney's not trying to do stuff like that even. Du Bois says the animation for Wish didn't even look stylized to me. It looked to me like they didn't even finish rendering it or had way lower frame rate or something. Yeah, I don't understand what they were doing with Wish, but I actually agree with you. It didn't even look finished in some of those scenes. Very, very disappointed in Wish. I haven't even seen Wish since it came out. I'm not a fan of that movie. But anyway, moving on. So we're getting a Pacific Rim prequel series that's in the works by Legendary. This is a bit of an odd choice because we haven't had a Pacific Rim movie in a long time. And it's a prequel series, but like I said, every franchise is getting MCU-ified, so even if something isn't getting a sequel, it's probably getting a series. And in this case, we're getting a series. And I don't even think Guillermo del Toro is going to be a part of this, so I can probably leave this. Was anyone in my chat, are you a fan of the Pacific Rim movies? To be honest with you, I only kind of medium like the first one, so I'm not super into these movies, but I don't know. Is anyone excited for a prequel series, or you're like, who is still interested in Pacific Rim in 2024? Because that's kind of how I feel. I feel like this franchise kind of had its moment, and I think I just don't see a lot of people coming back for it now. But anyone else interested in this? Okay, CD Woods is a big no. Okay. Miss Player says, I was thinking since there are way more 3D artists animators out there than 2D ones don't have much competition. Well, the 2D animators can't get a job. It's not even like there's no competition, there's just no jobs for them. Job Pager, you've never heard of this? Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think the franchise ever really got to be like that massive. Okay, Nick, you'll pass. Cheetah Viper, like the first one, second was okay. Yeah, the second one wasn't even that good. So, I don't know why they're still trying to continue with this. I think Hollywood needs to learn the lesson that not every franchise is worthy of expanding into, like, all these spin-off series and shows and stuff. But I don't think they're gonna learn that lesson until like everything just flops all the time. And I think we're getting there because a lot of stuff just isn't doing well right now. I mean, some stuff is doing well. We've had some big hits, but like consistently, we're still not at a point where like most things are hits right now. But anyway, moving on. So the Acolyte did get canceled after the first season of Disney on Disney Plus. Now I'm not surprised by this at all. I saw this coming. In fact, I would have been more surprised if we did get a season 2, just because the ratings weren't very good, B, the reviews weren't very good, and then C, the fan base had a very bad reaction to it, let's just say. So I'm not surprised that we're not getting another season. I am surprised that they outright admitted that they canceled it, because I feel like they've kind of already soft canceled a number of other shows. Like, we haven't heard anything about a Boba Fett season 2. Like, I'm pretty sure that show's canceled. We haven't heard anything about Ahsoka season 2, right? I'm pretty sure maybe that show's canceled. We haven't heard anything about season 2 for, what's it called? Obi-Wan. Sorry, Star Wars fans. We haven't heard anything about the season 2 to Obi-Wan. So I'm pretty sure like all of those shows are technically canceled. So I don't know why they decided to announce this one as canceled, but I guess they wanted to make it very clear. But anyway, is anyone really sad about this? I feel like no one thinks this show is good. Like, even people who try to defend it can at least admit, like, it's not, like, great. You know? There's no one that's like, oh, this show was amazing, this is a miscarriage of justice. Like, I don't think there's really anyone out there saying that. I thought the show was pretty bad, to be honest. Like, really, really bad. Especially towards the end. So I'm not surprised that this got canceled. Anyone surprised by this? Was anyone actually into this show? Oh yeah, feel bad for the cast. Yeah, I don't know why people hate on the cast. Like, if you don't like a show, bring it up with the showrunner. Like, don't hate on the actors. They're literally just doing a job. You know what? You know what's something else that also I hated? I just have to say it. I could not stand the main character, Amandla Stenberg's hair. The way they had the freaking bangs with the dreads, it's like, that is not how dreads grow, and the hairstyle looks stupid. I just could tell nobody black was working on that hair design. That's all I'm gonna say. It was just glaringly obvious and just horrible. But that's not the main reason why I didn't like that show, but I did think that her hair was super distracting. Riolin says, also the showrunner for The Acolyte did defend Harvey Weinstein. Yeah, I did hear about that, which is weird. I don't know why, like, between this Leslie Headland woman and then also working with that guy who had an OnlyFans, I don't understand why Disney is, like, not vetting the people that they're hiring, or maybe they just don't care anymore. You know, they're supposed to be a family brand, and I feel like they've made a lot of decisions lately that have just not been very family-oriented. Josh Loves Movies says, I think Star Wars is going to be so done with original shows and ideas after The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew. Yeah, Skeleton Crew was the next show. Remember the Star Wars trailer that I showed you guys, I think it was last time, where it just kind of looked like a Star Wars suburb in space. It was basically Stranger Things, but make it Star Wars. Yeah, that's the next Star Wars show to come out, and I don't have much hope that that will do better than The Acolyte, to be honest. John Pedro says, well, you can say it's an original design. Are you talking about her hair? I mean, it's very original, alright. I just thought it looked very bad, and it was frustrating me, because I was just like, dreads do not grow like that. Like, what is this? Skull Knight says, I was surprised we live in a world where Velma Season 2 happened. I thought, they already had greenlit Velma Season 2 beforehand. That's why we got a Season 2. Prototype says it has a deep problem with setup and payoff, and characters change motivations on a dime. That only scratches the surface of what was wrong with this show, Prototype. It was a really bad show, in my opinion. But anyway, moving on. So, let's talk about Megalopolis. I told you guys we'd talk about it, so let's talk about it. This is the story that I was like, it's kind of WTF news, but it's entertainment news, but I'm including it here. Because Megalopolis, if you guys don't know what this movie is very fascinating. This is another one of those movies where it just sounds so odd, so out there, so bad, that I kind of have to see it. Like, I'm definitely going to watch this. But it's by Francis Ford Coppola, which is why it's so frustrating and, like, surprising that apparently this movie is just god-awful. You guys don't know what's going on with this movie. Francis has been trying to make this movie for a while, and no studio has want to make it or, pay the money for it. So this movie has been made with Francis's own money. So he put down a lot of millions of dollars to make this movie because he just felt it had to be made. But now that the movie has been made and has played at a few festivals and whatnot, it is getting panned universally everywhere. Like, everyone's saying this is such a weird, bizarre movie, you almost have to see it to believe it. Like, these aren't even, like, regular bad reviews of, like, oh, the plot was bad, the characters, yada yada. Like, no. It's like, oh, this is through the perspective of, like, some weird fourth person or whatever, or, like, it's very, very strange reviews coming out for this movie. Like, this is apparently a very weird movie. Like, not just a bad movie, but a weird movie. And that just makes me want to see it even more. But apparently, Lionsgate just had to remove the trailer for this film because it contained a bunch of fake quotes trashing the movie. What the trailer was trying to do was it was trying to have a bunch of, like, quotes from critics that trashed his previous movies that were a lot more well-loved and more successful, trying to say, like, hey, don't let what you hear about this movie and the bad reviews make you not want to see it. Like, that's what they were trying to do in the trailer. But it kind of backfired because people realized those quotes never existed. They never happened. And apparently, this is what the rumor is, but I believe it to be true. They used, like, ChatGPT to come up with fake reviews from critics to put in the trailer, and when they got called out for it, they had to take the trailer down. Why would you use AI to come up with fake reviews for your movie? That only adds to the weirdness around this film that I find to be very interesting. So I'm definitely going to see Megalopolis. I don't know how, because I don't even know if it's going to get a wide release. Thankfully, I live in New York, so it's probably going to play at least one theater here. Because I definitely want to see it. I want to see why this movie is as weird as people are saying it is. I want to know what could be just so offensive about it, but that it's getting such terrible reviews. I'm fascinated. Also, why ChatGPT? Like, allegedly, if it's true, but I believe it's true. Very, very strange stuff. Super strange stuff. Prototype says they were trying to fabricate sympathy with the audience. Yeah, they were trying to do the whole, like, oh, look, critics didn't like these other movies that people loved, so don't listen to the critics. Like, that's what they were trying to do with the trailer. But they used fake reviews. Very, very weird. Okay, Riru is curious. You're like me. You're like Riru. You're like, I'm actually more curious about this movie now. The voice says, weird aside, but what did the prompt for ChatGPT sound like? Hey, ChatGPT, give me some quotes roasting my film. I guess so. I have no idea. No idea. This player says, reminds me of Earthbound's attempt to advertise the game. This game stinks. I mean, I guess they were trying to like use a bit of reverse psychology, like, oh, if the critics hate it, then the audiences are gonna love it. But it's only gonna work if the reviews were real. So very, very strange stuff. But anyway, that is actually the last thing I have to talk about today. So, like I said, not a ton of like stuff to really go over today, but some interesting stories. We still somehow went over an hour. Don't know how that happened. I guess we just had a good time talking with each other. But thank you all for being here. I do hope you show up on Sunday. Remember, on Sunday we're going to go over kind of reviewing the summer box office for all the big summer movies this year and kind of compare what actually happened compared to at the beginning of the summer, what I thought would happen. So make sure you're here on Sunday. I think that's going to be a really fun show. Thank you all for being here. Really genuinely appreciate you guys. Love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys on Sunday.